Welcome all to another YouTube video in our series on how to migrate to Australia. Today we're discussing about how to migrate to Australia as an overseas registered nurse. We have some great content lined up for you, and I hope you enjoy what I have to bring for you. So, what do we intend to cover in today's webinar? Firstly, I'll give you an overview about nursing in Australia, the career opportunities, the types of wages that you can likely receive, and give you a brief overview on that. Next, we're going to discuss the pathways for internationally qualified nurses. That means this webinar is right for you if you're already a nurse and practicing as a nurse in your home country. Thirdly, we're going to talk about the registration process with the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia. That's the registration that you need to essentially work as a nurse in Australia. Next, we're going to talk about the skill assessment process for nursing. So the skill assessment process essentially is the first step required in order to kickstart your journey towards skill migration. Leave any comments in the comment section after watching this video, and we will answer them as fast as we can. A bit about my background. At MJ Legal, I've been practicing as an immigration lawyer exclusively for about 4+ years. I've helped countless number of applicants move from a student visa stage all the way to permanent residency, or if you're already a qualified, skilled migrant living in your home country and you had dreams of coming and settling in Australia. We've had so many of those individuals contact us, and we've helped them over the years. We would be delighted to be able to assist you as well in the future. So listen on to this. And if you think the internationally qualified nursing pathway is for you, do not hesitate to contact us and we'll help you out. So, an overview of nursing in Australia. What is the average salary you can expect as a nurse? So, a majority of nurses, particularly those that are employed in hospitals, can expect a starting salary of a little north of $70,000, which is much higher than the national average. And you can go up to about $120,000 over the years if you keep at it and really rise through the ranks. So it's a high demand occupation that really recognizes the effort that you put in and how demanding the occupation is in terms of those individuals working as nurses, and therefore they are remunerated as such as well. So here's a breakdown of the various incomes you can earn at the various stages of your career progression. And trust me, guys, it is quite a well-paying position in Australia compared to some of the other occupations. The next thing, not only does it pay well, but there's plenty of opportunities to actually get employed as a nurse if you're really looking to migrate to Australia. There's a massive shortage across the board, and nurses are being snapped up um, just days after they've applied for roles. So if you look at the job ads, which really correspond to the amount of vacancies available, you'll see in Victoria alone there's about 2,500 spots. New South Wales, which is the state for Sydney, has about 2,500 spots. Queensland, where Brisbane's the capital, has about 1,500 spots, and all the way down you can see it is literally the most in demand occupation across each and every state, which means if you manage to make your way into Australia as a nurse, you're potentially looking at walking into a job, and you're also looking at walking into a well-paying job. So it's really important that you listen to the pathways that we have outlined for you. Traditionally, if you're currently sitting in India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Vietnam, Philippines, any country outside Australia, and you're dreaming of moving to Australia, you go and see an Australian education consultant. The first thing they're going to tell you as an already qualified nurse is, look, you've got a diploma or you've got a bachelor's, go and do a master's in Australia. The problem with doing a master's is it is very expensive, and also it takes many years where you're basically relearning the same things you've already learned, but in greater detail. And then you can only get you can only look to applying for permanent residency after you've gone through the rigorous process of actually studying a master's. We've cut out all of that unnecessary steps and provided you a much more direct pathway to actually getting permanent residency in Australia. So let's consider two scenarios. Firstly, you already hold the Bachelor of Nursing. The second scenario is you only hold a Diploma of Nursing. how do you migrate to Australia without actually having to go through a student visa pathway and having to study a master's of nursing, for example? If you hold a bachelor's, the second thing that you need to do is you need to ensure that you are able to sit for the IELTS exam and get at least 7.0 in each band of its scoring system. The second thing that you need to do is you need to have been practicing as a nurse in your home country for at least 450 hours. The same rules apply if you've done a diploma of nursing. However, because at a diploma level, you will not meet the minimum education requirements to be a registered nurse in Australia. So you need to top up your studies. And so basically what you would need to do is you would need to do a graduate diploma in nursing. Now we have partnered up with some amazing colleges that is able to deliver the graduate diploma in nursing online. And therefore, in 6 months' time, you can basically top up your diploma to the level of a bachelor's of nursing, and you can essentially then do your IELTS. And if you've had got 450 hours of practice as a nurse in your home country, you are well on your way to starting your journey to migrate to Australia. So, what does the process actually look like? The first step is you need to register with the Nursing and Midwifery Board. The second step is you must be able to then get a skill assessment from the Australian Nursing and Midwifery Accreditation Council. So the two abbreviations I'm going to use throughout this video is NMBA and MAC. First get registered with NMBA, then get registered with ANMAC or get a skill assessment from ANMAC, look for employment, and lastly, apply for immigration to Australia. So how do I actually get registered with the Nursing and Midwifery Board? Firstly, you must meet the minimum eligibility requirement. The minimum eligibility requirement is you must have a bachelor's of nursing. You must be registered as a nurse. Here, I've picked Sri Lanka as the country, but it can be in any country of your that you're currently residing in. And thirdly, you must have a minimum of at least 7.0 in each band of IELTS or the PT equivalent of 65. From then onwards, you need to actually start the process. So the first step is we need to do a self-assessment to ensure that our educational qualifications meet the minimum requirements specified by the Nursing and Midwifery Board. Then we need to complete a 1-hour online course on the Australian healthcare context. Contact us and we'll help you locate that course. Thirdly, you need to actually do a physical approval step with APRA. And in order to do the physical approval step, you must send them your documentary evidence and they will essentially then go through them and come back and say, yes, we're happy with your documentary evidence. If they are happy with your documentary evidence, then you go to the next step, which is essentially that you enroll and sit the multiple choice exam. Once you've enrolled and sat for the multiple choice exam and passed it, from there you need to go into the second stage of your examination, which is where you come to Australia to do something called the OSCE exam, which is the objective structured clinical exam, where you're meant to come and demonstrate your skills as a competent nurse. And if you can pass both the MCQ and the OSCE exam, you will then be eligible to work as a nurse in Australia. So the MCQ exam is the first exam that you need to take after you have managed to get your documents verified by APRA. First step is to essentially take the MCQ exam. It's called the National Council Licensure Examination for Registered Nurses. It's held online at a Pearson Center. So if you are in Sri Lanka or if you're in anywhere in the Indian subcontinent, India would be the closest testing center, but they have it all throughout the world, and we can find the center that is closest to you when you're making the actual application. It takes about 5 hours, and it's essentially an exhaustive breakdown of your theoretical knowledge when it comes to nursing practices. If you pass this exam, you can then move to the second stage of the examination, which is the OSCE practical exams. Now, this is where things become really interesting. The OSCE exam can only be undertaken in Australia, in South Australia, which is Adelaide, where the capital is Adelaide. And basically, you will do it at the University of South Australia. There are 5 intake dates spread across February, April, June, September, and November. So depending on when you pass your MCQ exams, you can actually go ahead and register or enroll for this exam. It usually takes about 3 months to obtain a date for the OSCE exam, and you must travel to Australia to do this. Now, here's how we actually make a difference at MJ. Firstly, we can help you enroll in one of these nursing examination prep courses. There are hundreds of courses out there, and it's important that you select the right course. Particularly, what you're looking for when you're selecting a course is it's important that you select a course that will not only help you pass the exam, but will also necessarily help you get a job after you've completed the courses and passed the exams. So, talk to us. We'll be more than happy to present you with some top quality education providers specifically aimed at preparing you to pass the nursing examinations, both the MCQ exams that you can take either in your country of origin or your nearest country nearest to you that has a Pearson test center. And then you need to come to Australia to actually do the clinical examination. In order to come to Australia to do the clinical examination, we can actually get you a visitor visa. Now, if you do get the visitor visa, you can avoid all the hassle of doing a student visa, which essentially requires you to get an enrollment from a college, pay them the first semester fee up front, show all the money that is required in order to come into Australia and get enrolled and continue your studies. So you don't need to do any of that. If you passed your MCQ exams, once you're enrolled for the OSCE exam, we can then get you a visitor visa. The beauty of this visitor visa is once you finish the OSCE exam, we can then convert this visitor visa into a student visa with a cheap course till we can work out your permanent residency. Or as I said earlier, if you've actually gone through one of the nursing examination and enrollment prep courses, they will essentially help you organize a visitor visa, organize a job as well at the conclusion of your examinations, provided you've passed the OSCE exam. So let's assume you've done your MCQ exams, you've passed that, you've come to Australia, you've done your OSCE exams as well. The last step is to actually get registered with an MBA. And provided you're still in Australia and you're able to prove your Australian visa, any arrangements to stay in Australia and your passport, you will get the full registration. So that concludes the first step with respect to actually applying for an MBA registration. So if we look in terms of the costs, I've put this in LKR for the moment, but essentially you will get it. The cost breakdown is as follows. We'll put the dollar equivalent in the comments. So let's assume we've got the NMBA registration. Once we've got the NMBA registration, the next step is to actually get the skill assessment, because the skill assessment is the primary requirement in order for us to actually apply for skilled migration to become a permanent resident in Australia. The first step is once we've got our registration through an MBA, we can then follow the pathway to get the modified skill assessment. What is the pathway to get the modified skill assessment? It's a 5-step process. Step 1 is we have to prove our identity. We have to prove our identity by providing our passports, providing any driver's license we have, any valid visa applications we have at the moment to ANMAC. Step 2 is we need to get the English language test results. So as I said, in order to even enroll for the course with an MBA, in order to do the MCQ and the OSCE exam, we had to essentially have at least 7.0 in each band of IELTS or the equivalent of 65 with the Pearson test of English. Once we've managed that, step 3 is essentially the education qualifications. That is where we are able to provide all our documents that prove that we've actually undertaken a bachelor's degree in nursing at least, or if we had the diploma, we've done the postgraduate diploma as well. And then we need to be able to prove that we've passed the MCQ and we've passed the OSCE exams in order to get our NMBA registration. And the last one is we need to ensure that we have at least 36 months of work experience. So while we only needed 450 hours of work experience to start the process, in order to essentially get the skill assessment as an internationally qualified nurse, we must have our qualifications plus 3 years of work experience and also an NMBA registration, which requires us to necessarily pass the MCQ component of the exams and the OSCE examination. Once we've managed to prove our educational requirements and our work experience requirements, we can register to practice. So we will get our skill assessment as a registered nurse, and then we are ready now to apply for skill migration. So I hope that was useful and it really showed you how you can come to Australia in the shortest possible time as an internationally qualified nurse without having to come to Australia as a student and pursue a master's program. At MJ Legal, as I said at the start, we are a full service migration firm. We would be delighted to help you. We have helped countless number of clients both follow the NMBA and APRA registration process, um, enroll in the prep courses with respect to actually doing the NMBA examinations, the MCQ exams, and the OSCE clinical exams. We've helped our clients with visa applications, firstly, visa applications to come to Australia, and then temporarily stay in Australia if need be till we can actually get our paperwork sorted out and apply for skill migration. And lastly, we can help you with your skill assessment at ANMAC. So I hope this webinar was really useful and really showed you how you can come to Australia as an internationally qualified nurse without having to spend thousands of dollars on an expensive master's course. Um, if you have anything, please reach out to us. Write your questions in the comments. We will respond to that. Otherwise, here is our details. You can directly call us or email us, and we would be delighted to help you enroll in the prep course and also help you start your journey to migrate to Australia as an internationally qualified nurse. Thank you very much for taking the time. Please follow us for more useful information.